What are we doing? Are we going to go live? Yes, we are. What's up, everybody? Aaron Nagler here, Cheesehead TV, coming to you live on Wednesday afternoon, just 1 minute after 6 p.m. Eastern. Lovely to see 49 lost souls in the comments section already. Good to see everybody. Thanks for coming by, chatting some Packers, saying, what's up? In the depths of the offseason, heard from Adrian Amos and Aaron Jones earlier this afternoon. The Packers made them available. Adrian coming to us presumably from his place in Baltimore. Aaron Jones coming to us live from his car. And I blogged a little bit about Aaron's response to my question regarding coverages and how teams played him. Make sure you check that out on the website. And it was funny how the headline that everyone gloms onto off of that availability from Aaron Jones is that he wants to be a, quote, Packer for life, because that's what guys say, right, when it's contract time, which it very much is. Throughout this offseason and probably through the season for Aaron Jones, the question is, will they sign him long-term or at least to a couple-year extension? And look, I appreciate the sentiment. Lord knows we've heard Aaron Rodgers extol the idea, the virtues of being with one team your entire career. It's a very rare occurrence in all of pro sports, not just in Green Bay. If you are born a Packers fan, you are the one human being in this world who gets to say you are a Packer for life. Most of the people who work with the team itself aren't Packers for life. They've worked with other teams. They've come from other places. A few of them were born in the area, raised, and then go work for the team. And that's what they do. That is their career. But more often than not, that is not the case. But if you are a fan who were born into Green Bay Packers fandom, you are truly Packers for life. It's pretty great. Pretty neat little distinction, I tend to think. Matt, thanks for the super chat. Best Packers bar you have been to? Tony's in Colorado Springs is mine. Haven't been to Tony's, Matt. My favorite one outside of Wisconsin is obviously Kettle of Fish here in New York City, down in the Village. Pat does it right, man. If you ever get the chance to watch a game at Kettle of Fish, I highly recommend doing so. It's just legendary. You got to get there very early, very, very, very early. But it's just old school Wisconsin. Brats are on offer. He has tons of great beer, and the vibe is just fantastic. Nicholas, thanks for the super chat. Did the run defense really improve leading up to the NFC loss, or did we just not face a real run threat? No, I think it did improve. I think a team like, if you look at Seattle, their running game was going along even with, backups and or, a off the street Marshawn Lynch. They were running the ball pretty effectively. The Packers shut them down. Of course, the big trouble they had in the second half of that game was with Russell Wilson, trying to contain him in the pocket. But I do think if you go back and you watch the season over again, because the hell else are you going to do in quarantine, right? You'll see they do improve that second half of the season. Now, sure, they weren't facing the 49ers, but as Mike Pettin pointed out, not a lot of teams are the 49ers personnel-wise. There's a reason they didn't get to the Super Bowl by accident. They are an insanely talented team with a really good coaching staff. It's a good combination. The Packers' run defense did improve. They definitely ran into a buzzsaw, though, in the NFC Championship game. Dustin, thanks for the super chat. Are the videos Mike Daniels is putting out going to help him get picked up, or are they just good videos to send on his daughter's future dates? I think every little bit helps, right? You heard Aaron Jones reference Jamal Williams' workout videos today. I think it's all, it's all part of PR / keeping your name in the mix, especially if you're an older guy who is at this point heading into June unemployed. I don't doubt for a second that it will help in some capacity. Now, I don't think he ends up back in Green Bay, but I do think he'll end up getting a job. No doubt about it. Kevin, thanks for the super chat. Great to see Jordy on the McAfee and Hawk show the other day. That was a great time. That whole vibe is great. I love what Pat's doing with his platform. I love that he's brought AJ on. I think that's a really good fit, a really good mix. And yeah, they just have fun. They just have a really good Ty Schmidt, who's a huge Packers fan, is one of the guys in that mix. They all do a great job. And it is a ton of fun to watch. I don't get to watch it with much regularity. I obviously try and catch all the Packers-related stuff, the Jordy appearance the other day when Aaron Rodgers has been on. But yeah, that whole vibe is just fantastic. Nags, that 300 mil that Green Bay has in reserve, would they ever use any of that for signings, player acquisition? Not directly, Garrett. That is there, very specifically in case of emergency and or say a worldwide pandemic breaks out and for whatever reason games aren't played and revenue isn't coming in. That's what it is there for. But don't get it twisted. They have all the money in the world. There is no shortage of money to sign free agents and or extend contracts. They are working within the construct of the salary cap, just like every other team. But sometimes people ask, does a lack of an owner, a deep-pocketed owner, preclude them from signing players or paying more? And no, that's not the case at all. They've got all the money in the world to do that. But the salary cap is what it is, and there's little to no chance they would ever tap into that reserve because it is there very much for a very specific reason. An emergency. Steve, thank you so much for the super chat. It's very nice of you. Salud. Chris, will there be fans by week 6? AR12 versus TB12? That is an excellent question. I wish I knew the answer. I tell you what, though, there are people in the league talking like there are going to be fans in week 1. So I'm going to be surprised if there aren't fans in the stands by week 6. But we'll see. I mean, there's still the possibility they could rearrange that front part of the schedule. So there's still so much to play out yet. And that's why when people ask me, I just did an interview with the BBC, of all things, the other day. And I said, it's such a week by week, even day by day proposition at this point. I think all the crystal ball attempts are pretty futile. We just have to wait and see how things play out, definitely over the course of the next kind of month or so. States starting to open up. There are reports that they could start having mini camps next month in the month of June. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things progress. Weston, thanks for the super chat. Hey, any Packers players will coach the Packers? Any Packers players? Oh, would they coach the Packers? Eventually, someday, maybe. Go back to the founding of the team. Curly Lambeau was a player, and then he was also a coach, and then he was just the coach. I know Leroy Butler got into coaching early on after he retired and then decided it wasn't for him and then made rumblings that maybe he was interested in it again. I don't know if there'll be a head coach, but you never know. Brandy asked a great question. What was it? Will teams scheme for the Smith brothers this year, and how will that help/hurt the pass rush? The cat is now out of the bag. Yes and no. They definitely will scheme for them. There's no question about it. But at some point, a 3rd and 13 can only be schemed up so many ways. And if you are in a advantageous down and distance, you kick, say Gary outside and you put Smith inside, Z being that Smith, or you rush those 4 guys coupled with Kenny. There's only so much you can do. And obviously some of that is down to how they cover on the back end, but I do not doubt for a second the thing that teams will glom onto is what the 49ers did in regards to the pulling of their offensive linemen, getting guys out on the edge against the Smiths and trying to take advantage of their aggressiveness. Time and again in that game, you saw Preston and Za'Darius getting upfield and the 49ers scheme taking advantage of that action. They're going to have to be disciplined, and they are going to be run at. And that is the best way to blunt a pass rusher, is to run right at him. I think, you'll see an emphasis on it, but I think that only goes so far. And the big kind of question mark / X factor, if you will, is Rashawn Gary. What does his development look like? If he takes the jump that they're probably hoping for, then they're really cooking with gas, and they've got a legit problem for offenses up front. But we'll see how that develops. I don't doubt that teams will pay more attention, but like I said, when you get in an obvious passing down and distance, there's only so much you can do. So the onus will be on getting him in those obvious passing downs, and that comes down to winning on 1st and 2nd down. Who has a better year, Pettine's revenge or Jerry Gray with the DBs? That's a good question. I guess I'd probably go Pettine's revenge. I do think they will be improved against the run overall. Jerry Gray is obviously a very well-known um, veteran coach. He's been a coordinator. You got to think he was given kind of a raw deal in Minnesota. But we'll see. Hopefully his guys pick off a couple passes with Kirk Cousins while they play the Vikings. That would be nice. Amos carries the G. David, you got that right. Thanks for the super chat, buddy. Weston, thanks for the super chat. How do we fix our nasty with tackling and coaching? If you mean a lack of nasty, a lack of physicality and or aggressiveness, there's only so much you can do. I always say, you guys have heard me throughout the years saying, you got to draft good tacklers. Once you get to the NFL, you are kind of who you are. It's a little too late to be molded at that point, just because of the lack of hitting, the lack of actual contact and or live reps during practice, or even in the preseason, things are kind of dialed down. You got to draft them more than anything. Christian, thanks for the super chat. Who's your favorite player the Packers let go too early? For me, it was Casey Hayward. Thanks, Nags. Thank you for the super chat. My favorite that they've let go early was Micah Hyde. I'll never understand that one. Casey Hayward, I completely understood. Obviously, he went on to ball out there in San Diego, now LA. I understand why people got upset, didn't like the idea, didn't like the decision to let him go. But to me, given the fact of what they had drafted and where they were roster construction-wise, letting Casey Hayward walk made sense. Micah Hyde, letting him walk never made sense to me. It was a guy who was the poster child for draft and develop. Ted even said he loved him as the guy who came in and improved every year, was playing absolutely the best ball of his career down the stretch of his final season in Green Bay. And then they didn't even make him an offer to keep him around. And I understand they had guys at safety and they were paying. I get all that. But what's the point of preaching draft and develop if you have a guy who is literally doing exactly what you want from every one of your draft picks, and then you just let him walk for nothing, like with no attempt to keep him? Also, by the way, still tied for career record with Desmond Howard for punt returns for TD in the Packers franchise history. Multi-versatile, talented player. Just let him go. Never get that one. Nags, Dylan's running style reminds me of a bigger Ryan Grant, not Lacey. One cut, long strides. I'd see that, especially the plant the foot and get upfield when the wash is going. A lot of backs you'll see, even good cutback runners, you'll see kind of take not false steps, but you'll see them stutter step as the play kind of happens in front of them, or the blocking happens in front of them, and then they make the cut. Dylan does a really good job, kind of like Ryan Grant did, of running without wasted motion, and then when he sees that opening, it's one and gone. That to me is where the similarity is, and I agree with you. That's an exciting prospect. Just remember that season when Ryan Grant, kind of exploded after, I think it was like week 5 or 6, and he had all those long 50-yard plus touchdown runs. I'm not saying he's going to show up doing that, but Dylan could have a similar type of impact. Biggest sleeper team of 2020? Got to be the Cardinals. Got to be the Cardinals. I think they're gonna go ham on people, especially on offense. Murray's legit, man. And you add Nuke to the mix. Oh my God. Kenny, thanks for the super chat. Do you know what specific factors are keeping the cap lower than expected? Can all these teams afford it either way? They can, Kenny, but undoubtedly it is a mix of ownership and Roger Goodell / 345 Park. Might have to do something with the uncertainty surrounding obviously not just this season, but the upcoming seasons, with how the landscape might change. Who knows what revenue is going to look like coming off of the season, where who knows what fan participation is going to be. It could be any number of factors, but it will be interesting to see if it happens 2 years in a row, which I tend to doubt. Joseph, thanks for the super chat. Yes, I'm boasting. We have a pandemic. Let me have this. Very well. You have the floor, Joseph. I advocated for Alan Lazard on here all preseason. Longhorn fan. He killed us. New take. Marc-Antoine Decoy, dime linebacker role early. Thoughts? Joseph, you were right last year, so clearly you're right this year. How's that for a take? I like that. Podcast 1919, thanks for the super chat. I'm excited to see Dylan. He reminds me of a faster, stronger, more agile Frank Gore. Whoo, baby. Wow. That's a take. I definitely see Ryan Grant more than I see Frank Gore. I'll just say that. But hey, man, if he ends up being a faster, stronger, more agile Frank Gore, I will take it. Frank, thanks for the super chat. LaFleur says he couldn't fix the pre-snap issues with snapping the ball at 1 second until the offseason. Why was that the case, and will COVID now hamper this? Frank, we've actually asked LaFleur a bit about that throughout this offseason. And look, I don't think that taking it down to 1 second is really what he's trying to fix and or add to the offense. What we've been talking about, and what LaFleur has mentioned a few times, is the lack of a hurry-up offense, a true hurry-up. They didn't install it in preseason. They didn't work on it during the season. And it's something they have said they want to get to this offseason. They are working on shortening the nomenclature, trying to get one-word calls, give Rodgers the ability to speed things up. But I still think you're going to see a lot of taking it down to 1 second. There is a common denominator between Mike McCarthy and Matt LaFleur's offenses and why they're being taken down to 1 second. And that reason plays the quarterback position. Do you think Tremont might be waiting to sign because he knows the system and doesn't want to participate in OTAs? No. Ryan, if there was an offer, he would take it. I do think the Packers will call him if there is an injury at some point, maybe later in the offseason. Say they get to OTAs / minicamp in June, somebody pulls a hammy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Maybe someone doesn't look as good as they thought maybe they would. Then maybe he gets a call. But I get the sense that the Packers are distinctly trying to turn the page and move forward with some younger guys. Now, again, is he on an emergency call list? I have zero doubt. And hey, who knows? He might get a call from another team prior to the Packers calling. No doubt about it. But yeah, I don't think trying to avoid OTAs, especially now that they're all like this, it's just talking into a computer. I don't think he's trying to avoid that. Podcast 1919. Thanks for the super chat. Next, what are your thoughts on Mark DeCoy? I have no thoughts as of yet. Let me see him on the field. This is the same thing I say every year. You can look at tape, whatever, but until I see them on an NFL field against NFL competition, I kind of try to reserve my judgment. Is Menenga underappreciated in the eyes of Packers fans? I guess. I think most Packers fans probably don't think about special teams coordinators, right? I mean, they just, if Crosby makes a kick, good. If JK has a nice punt, great. If somebody has a good return, awesome. But I don't think most fans really think about the special teams coordinator, which, to answer your question, probably means, he is underappreciated. If for no other reason, and I love that, I can't remember who it was, but somebody led the press availability with him the other day with the question, what did you do to have such a vast decrease in penalties? And that is something we didn't talk about a lot during the season, but that is a very, very a job very well done by Menenga to take this unit that was plagued, couldn't get out of its own way, couldn't stop shooting itself in the foot, and turned it around, really. Lots of teams deal with that, obviously, and there are still penalties on special teams. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of the nature of the beast. It's going to happen every now and then, but he definitely kind of clean things up in that regard. And for that reason alone, he should be commended. Is Elliot Wolf still working for the Patriots? Is it the Patriots? The last I saw it was the Seahawks he was doing consulting with, but maybe there's been a new development. I haven't really talked to Elliot since the combine. Edgar Bennett or Dorsey Levens? Oh, man. Make me choose between my children. Yes. How's that? I don't know. They're both so great. I think Dorsey was probably a little bit more talented overall, but Edgar Bennett is the greatest mutter I've ever seen and could take a screen to the house at any time. How's that? Someone needs to pre-piss off Corey before transplants. Brandy, I'll do my best. Speaking of which, transplants will return next week. We were supposed to be back tonight. We've had to push it back a week. LiveX is insanely busy. Just didn't have the personnel or the bandwidth to take it on. But we will be back next week. We're going to have a ton of fun. Should have a nice, fun surprise guest for you guys. Stick around. Next week, right here on the YouTube channel. Over under on Kamal Toe Martin, starting with Kirksey. Again, I really like his kind of activity. He's very active. He's very see ball, get ball. I worry about interior linemen getting up on him, being able to disengage from blocks, etc. It's kind of a recurring theme in Green Bay, right? I think he's got a shot. No doubt about it. I think most of those jobs are pretty wide open, right? I think he could be. I want to say a major contributor, but I think he could surprise. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We'll see. Weston, thanks for the super chat. How's our new wide receiver coach? I'm sure he's fantastic. It's hard to say with much, not much to say. It's hard to say anything about assistant coaches in general, just because we're so closed off and not privy to their day to day. Obviously we see the production or lack thereof from each group during the games, but it's hard to say with any certainty how he's doing. Obviously, it's his first year in the gig, moved up from a quality control role, so we'll see. Frank, first of all, Big B, how is my dog? Still in your imagination. Frank, is this your do or die for Josh Jackson? Yes. Gary the G in fully open North Pole, Alaska. What's up to the pub for scotch and wings post Aaron and Cheesehead TV? That's amazing, John. Salute. Gary the G, buddy. Raj, is Pettine on the hot seat? I don't think it's a hot seat. I do think, the burner could be turned on at some point this season, depending on how things go. No doubt about it. Let me see what else we got. Why can't professional coaches and players not implement hurry-up offenses during the season? Well, I think they can. I just think there's a lot more to it than people who play Madden realize. This idea that, okay, we're going to adjust all these routes, and you've got to do this, and blah, 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 and set the protection. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Could they? Yes. Do they think it would be worth the time and take, because remember what coaches always say, you are what you emphasize. You get what you emphasize. And if they're emphasizing something and then they have to take time to implement a new part of the offense in season, you're taking away time from whatever else it is you were planning or wanting to work on. So did I find it odd that they at no point added a hurry up offense last year? Yeah, I did. It was funny. I was going back and watching Aaron's press availability that day when he was grousy about the joint practice with the Texans. And in that availability, he very clearly is bewildered that they haven't started working on hurry-up offense at any point during the offseason. OTAs, minicamp, training camp, etc. And I just noted that because then when it got brought up in season, Matt said, we're probably not going to get to it this year. I don't know. That's I would think that with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, you would want that to be part of your arsenal. But clearly, LaFleur felt other things were more important. Thomas, thanks for the super chat. Could DeGuara be our most impactful rookie? A couple key blocks and catches out of the backfield could really help move the chains. He's going to be in the mix, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, especially everybody who called him a fullback when he was drafted. He's going to play everywhere. He's going to play fullback? Yes. Is he going to play tight end? Yes. Is he going to play H-back? Yes. He could even play wide receiver at some point. So I do think he has a chance to be impactful early. However, that is a big jump from college to the pros at that position, being asked to do all those different things. You have to be in sync with so many different groups. I wouldn't expect him to come out, blazing, like setting records, making the Sports Center highlights every week, but I do think he will contribute. No doubt about it. Yes, of course. Uh-oh. Well, I think I'm losing you guys. To quote Spaceballs. Yeah, take one or two more here. Okay, now we're getting crazy. Dustin, thanks for the super chat. If you had to pick a player in the NFL non-Packer to quarantine with, who would it be? Non-Packer. Oh man, I don't know. I don't really follow any non-Packers. Tom Brady, because he'd have a huge house and I never have to see him. Ruben, thanks for the super chat. Who is the most underrated Packer that you feel can do the most damage this year? Underrated Packer. Probably EQ. I think most people who, come along and chat Packers in late May on a YouTube channel are probably aware of EQ's upside. But I think the general Packer populace is probably sleeping on him a little bit. And I do think he is going to surprise a lot of people, both in Green Bay and around the league. Javier, thanks for the super chat. Scott's film looks pretty great. Is there a reason he fell so far, or am I just watching too many highlights? I mean, that's why I always caution against watching highlights, right? Most of that is athletic testing stuff. But it's all eye of the beholder. Once you get past the first kind of wave of blue chippers, the incremental kind of idea of rating these guys is so narrow that, sometimes a team may have him. He was a third-round pick, but they had someone else rated higher in the third round, so they took him. Everyone else had rated, say, maybe a sixth-rounder, and then that guy drops, and then that team goes, wait, this third-round guy is still there at 6, and then they take him at 6. Who knows, right? Such an imperfect part of the game. Predictions for Kevin King this year. I think he'll ball out, and I think there's a good chance it's his last year in Green Bay. I truly hope that isn't the case, but they got a lot of mouths to feed. Hopefully he plays 16 games, picks off a lot more passes, and doesn't have quite as many hiccups in coverage, and they bring him back. Love me some Mercedes Lewis. You and me both. Big Dog has been an excellent addition to the Packers roster. No doubt about it. All right, everybody, I'm going to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. Thanks for hanging out with me here on a late May Wednesday. Please hit like, hit subscribe on this video. And if you're so inclined and you really want to help out and support what we do at Cheesehead TV, please consider giving us $5 a month on our Patreon page, patreon.com/CheeseheadTV. I do live Zoom hangouts every week during the off season. Think I'm starting up some Madden challenges again because I got a few challenges in the old inbox last night. So that'll rumble back to life, and you get access to my podcast. And I may have a surprise guest there for you soon. So patreon.com/CheeseheadTV. If that's too much, totally understand. Times being what they are. But you know what? Hitting the like, hitting subscribe doesn't cost you anything. And it just gives you my heart. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.